don't think Gavin Newsom realized when he announced the end of the L.A. to San Francisco version of high-speed rail just what was going to follow. I don't think he thought this through. Because by announcing that they're giving up, it made everybody stop and say, well, then why are we going to spend another dollar on any of it? No one really thinks there's any value in Bakersfield to Merced, and that's why Trump is pulling the money from California, the federal money. And now Senator Jeff Stone today says basically maybe we should stop borrowing any more money.
Yeah, Senate Bill 340. Make it illegal for the state to sell the remaining $6.6 billion in general obligation bonds authorized by Prop 1A, which was approved back in 2008. His district is entirely in Riverside County. Let's get State Senator Jeff Stone on the air, talk about this, and see if it has any chance.
Jeff, how are you?
Hey, Jon and Ken.
So they haven't actually borrowed very much of the $10 billion that they were authorized to borrow.
They've borrowed about half of it right now, about half of it federal, about half of it state. But what's interesting, if you read the initiative, is that you couldn't cap state bonding until the private sector matched what the federal government was going to give. So they superseded that, and they bonded. And remember,
wait, hold on.
Meaning, yeah, because they haven't gotten anything from the private sector, have they?
I don't know what that means.
No,
they weren't supposed to borrow the money until the federal government and private investors anteed up.
Exactly. They were supposed to ante up to show that this project was going to move forward as kind of like a public-private partnership. This wonderful 800-mile high-speed train is supposed to go 220 miles an hour, get you from L.A. to San Francisco in 2.5 hours. And by the way, for $50 a trip, and the initiative also says that you cannot subsidize the fare. Well, the bonding that came from the state, the bondholders were smart. They said, we know you're not going to be able to make this on $50 a trip. We're not going to loan you the money unless you put in there that you can subsidize the trip. And so the whole thing has just been a boondoggle. It's been non-transparent. They haven't been truthful. And that's why Gavin Newsom at the State of the State address said, and here's a quote, let's be real. The project is currently planned would cost too much money and take too long, and there's been too little oversight and not enough transparency.
Well,
a project that was supposed to cost $10 billion that is estimated at $98 billion today.
Wait a second. Is it legal to sell bonds and borrow money when they didn't get the public and federal financing that was required?
Something that I'm not a lawyer, but let's just say it didn't follow the letter of the law of the initiative, which is basically breaking the law. So, the citizens of this state have been bamboozled by this, rail authority, which Gavin Newsom just replaced the head of the high-speed rail authority. But listen, he's got two choices. Either, if he wants to kill this project, he either has to put it back to a vote for the citizens, or we cut off the supply of money going to the train. I thought the best route to getting us there sooner, because remember, we still got a bureaucracy that wants to bond more because they want to keep their high-paid jobs and promoting a train that nobody's going to use.
Well, that's the crux of this here, is that the only people who benefit from continuing to borrow the money are the people who are getting employed at the High-Speed Rail Commission and whatever contractors have signed up. But even if they finished Bakersfield to Merced, no one's going to take that route. Nobody.
Exactly. And, Governor Brown, the Democrats were afraid to say anything because he was such a sycophant for this train. But you know what? Brown used the excuse that this is going to reduce our carbon footprint. There were 25% of cap and trade so far has been helping to fund this train, if you can imagine that. And even the high-speed rail authority said themselves that after this train, if it's built, only 1% of the people that presently use their vehicles on freeways will actually use the train, 1%. Global warming isn't going to have any reaction at all to the building of this train. In fact, it's going to exacerbate global warming.
Yeah, because just constructing the train route is going to cause so much energy to be consumed. And
exactly.
with the fossil fuels released into the atmosphere. So this is so ridiculous. This is like a mafia scam, isn't it?
Well, it's just, we're running this project the way the state runs the DMV. You know, and if you like the way the DMV's run, then you'll like the way this project's been managed. $98 billion for a train that nobody's going to use. And if you use actuarials, true actuarials, by the time the thing is built, it's going to cost between $250 to $500 for a one-way trip between Los Angeles and San Francisco. $69 is still looking pretty good on Southwest Airlines.
Yeah, I was going to say that's much more expensive. By the way, now that Brown is gone, I mean, might there be a little support for your proposal, even among Democrats who obviously dominate in Sacramento? Because I've read for years that there's been mutterings that some of them do want to get off this Brown Doggle train.
Listen, I've talked to a lot of Democrats on the side and said, hey, listen, we got to support this stupid train because we got to get our bill signed by Governor Brown. Now that this governor has basically said we're going to make this commuter train, he's given the Democrats cover now to basically say, let's cut the legs off of this project.
Right, because
and that was the origin of SB 340, is order to stop the funding of this train any further. Let's just stop it. Let's just make it the commuter train, and let's put an end to this and put money into building reservoirs like you were talking about earlier, putting into things that our citizens truly need in the state of California. How about using it? $5 billion is what it costs for us for SB 1. We could have taken $5 billion of this $98 billion and not tax our citizens to improve our roads and fund a boondoggle of a train and nobody's going to use.
But he's going to say, I need this bond money to finish that Bakersfield to Merced link.
Well, I think there's already money that's there. I think they want to go for another $600 or $900 million by the time this bill gets.
But what are they going to do with it? Even if they built it,
they're supposed to sell debt next month.
What are they going to do with it?
Well, I think they want to show something for the money that's been spent, even though it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. That's a policy decision of the governor and the legislative Democrats. My goal is to stop the further bleeding of money into a project that nobody's going to use, where we have so many other important needs in the state of California.
All right, State Senator Jeff Stone, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Nice talking to you guys as always.